Certo. Intanto faccio una cosa, ti mando per messaggio privato il link alla pagina di valutazione degli articoli.
Sì, la stavo aprendo, infatti, ho visto.
Già ce l'hai.
Sì.
Buongiorno a tutti.
Perfetto.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno Andrea.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno a tutti.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Dovrebbe collegarsi anche Alessio Pino, se siete d'accordo aspettiamo 2 minuti e poi iniziamo.
Sì, va benissimo.
Siamo tutti italiani oppure c'è qualche ospite?
Penso che da remoto siamo tutti italiani, non so in aula se ci sia qualcuno collegato.
Ok. Giulio?
No, qui da noi per il momento ci sono solamente italiani.
Ma noi dobbiamo eventualmente sempre, come dire, svolgere la sessione in inglese perché è la lingua ufficiale del convegno, oppure se siamo tutti italiani possiamo parlare in italiano?
Credo che sia comunque preferibile l'inglese perché poi viene condivisa in streaming su YouTube, quindi anche se magari non sono presenti persone in aula, può darsi che altre persone, diciamo non italiani, su YouTube.
Va bene.
Anche in un secondo momento.
Perfetto, allora iniziamo qualche minuto e poi...
Perfetto.
Scusate, allora vedo Fellow Gister, non vedo il nome, Andrea Gallo, vedo il nome, poi vedo due, perfetto, poi vedo altri 2 partecipanti, però non vedo i nomi, però presuppongo...
Io non so perché non si veda il mio, ma sono Francesca Sinatra.
Ok, perfetto, grazie.
Grazie a lei.
Quindi Andrea Gallo presente, Francesca Sinatra presente, Andrea Gallo il secondo paper, poi ci sono io, mancherebbe giusto, aspettiamo allora un altro minuto, vediamo se si collega Mariolina Grasso oppure Alessio Pino e poi iniziamo.
Perfetto. Alfonso?
Sì?
Che tu sappia, lo streaming lo avvia Damiano o ci deve passare la chiave?
No, lo avvia Damiano.
A posto, grazie.
Prego.
Ecco, scritto da Alessio Pino a Mariolina Grasso, vediamo se si collegano. Alessio, buongiorno.
Buongiorno, professore.
Allora Giulio, direi che ci siamo, quindi quando vuoi possiamo attivare lo streaming e partire?
Lo streaming dovrebbe appunto avviarlo l'organizzatore in automatico.
Ah, oddio,
Quindi per
allora...
me penso che possiamo partire, anche perché probabilmente era già partito da prima. Quindi
Ah, ok,
sono
quindi siamo
disposto a
già in
partire.
streaming.
Sì, un attimo che controllo, casomai. Confermo, lo streaming è già attivo, quindi possiamo cominciare.
Okay, welcome to everyone to this session. We have to discuss 5 papers. We have the first papers, the dynamics of containerized transport in the Mediterranean Sea. I think the author is Andrea Gallo. Andrea, you can share with us your presentation and start with your work.
Thank you so much. Can you see my screen?
Okay, I confirm. We see your video.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, just I think that we have 10 minutes to
Yeah,
present
okay.
our work, and then we can discuss with questions if someone has
Much.
one or
Uh,
something. Okay.
Yeah, let me introduce myself. I'm Andrea Gallo, a research fellow at the University Ca' Foscari of Venice, and I'm concluding my PhD at the University of Trieste. And I'm here to present you a paper that was born during the last summer. So the idea and the methodology and the fact that everything happened during the last year. And so that is quite an important introduction because everything knows what's happened in the Red Sea with the Houthi attacks and so on and so far. And so probably, and that's of course a problem, but I must still point out this point. I got to tell you that all the introduction, conclusions, data aren't affected of the situation that happened in the Red Sea during this Red Sea crisis, geopolitical crisis related to the Houthi attacks. So, what are we going to talk in this study? In the study, we're going to talk about the 3 dimensions of the transport geography, the flows, the nodes, and the networks related to a complex system that is the port system inside of the Mediterranean basin. And we're going to examine the 29 different ports spread among all the Mediterranean basin and their development trajectories based on sub-regional divisions. And we try to understand what could be the development or the differences between this port inside of this area. So we're going to adopt a conjunctural analysis of the traffic volume inside of this context. And the idea is to try to catch what is happening and what was happening in this case inside of these different ports. So as first, we start from the data collection and the main services for this port. So if they are transshipment hub, gateways, or mixed ports, so port able to manage two different way of transport. So the gateway traffic, that is the traffic that is going to move inside of a port hinterland, and the transshipment traffic, that are the traffic that arrives into the port and then it's moved to other ports, smaller ports. And here you could see that we take the data collection about for the port for the 2010, the 2015, and the 2022. And here you could briefly see our data set. Then, as first, we use a cartographical representation of these different kind of ports based on the three main services. That is the transshipment dimension, mixed port dimension, and gateway dimension. And we could easily see that for what concern the absolute volume, the transshipment hub are the most important in terms of volume handled inside of the Mediterranean Sea basin. We have the mixed port that is rising and rising up as importance inside of the Mediterranean. And then you could see also a share almost that it is almost the same between the 2010 and 2022 inside of between this port, among this port. And then we start with a different classification where we divided these different ports in 6 subregions that we call it the ports range, and we identify 6 different ports range. There is the South Med hubs, so the hubs spread around the Port Said, so the port at the end of the Suez Canal. Then we have the East Mediterranean range, that is the port spread around, because every range probably had a pivotal port that could be seen in the port of Piraeus here in the East Mediterranean range. The Central Mediterranean range, where we could find the port of Gioia Tauro and port of Malta. Then we had the Ligurian and Northern range, and I think doesn't need any kind of presentation here. And then finally we got the Spanish Med range. We have to consider the 3 main ports of Valencia, Barcelona, and Algeciras. And then we arrive to the methodology. So there is a first geographical range-based analysis that I just introduced you. And then talking about the methodology, we are going to use 2 different kind of analysis. The first one will be the distribution index by using the Gini coefficients. And then we will adopt the shift share analysis. There's an analysis that was born into the ambit of the regional economy, and we try to adopt this methodology to try to catch this difference among these different ports in terms of transport geography, and we will see it later. So as first, the Gini coefficients, it is pretty well known, the Gini coefficients in terms of distribution index. And we must point it out that if the value is equal to 0, all the ports have similar value among the range or the distributions. And if this value will be higher and higher and tending to 1, all the volume will be catalyzed on a single port. On the other hand, the shift share analysis is an analysis that try to divide the growth in three main effects. The share effect, that is the growth related to the entire economy. So as I said before, it derives from regional economy. So the share effect that try to get the growth related to the entire economy. The shift effect that try to catch the growth related just to the single region. The port related to a single region inside of the entire economy. And then the last one, the competitive effect that catch the dimension of the infra-regional dimension. So what happened inside of a single region in terms of competition between all the ports. And here it is the first results and discussions. As first, we present what happened with the Gini coefficients, so the distribution index, and we can see that almost the idea is that these coefficients stay stable during our data series. it's tend to be higher a little bit, and that's happened mostly because, for instance, the port of Cagliari and the port of Taranto share their volume since like more than 500,000 of container to almost zero. And so that's a first important information. Then we could see in the Spanish Med range that has an important slowdown, and that is attributable to the fact that in 2022 almost all the different ports in the Spanish Med range got almost the same number of container handled. And also, finally, we could see that almost all the others range they are almost stable. So that's quite an important situation. Also, with the exception of the Central Mediterranean range, where, as I said before, happened that the port of Taranto passed since from more than 1,000 of container to zero, and that is attributable to the flow away of the Evergreen that got a transshipment hub there that in 2012 decided to move away and to relocalize their terminal. And then we pass to the shift share analysis. As I said before, we have three different components. The share component that is related to the entire economy, and we could see how in this way the Spanish Med range grow a lot under this point of view, and also happened for the Eastern Mediterranean range, where we could find the port of Piraeus that grow in an important way. And that's the main highlight of the share component. Then we could see the shift effect in terms of TEUs, where in this case the Ligurian range suffer a lot. And also it must be pointed out the important change of the Eastern Mediterranean range related to this component. And as we said before, this shift effect, it is a structural component that try to highlight two opposite trends. On one hand, the Central Mediterranean range and some parts of the South Mediterranean range got a loss into the first period, and then grow up into the second. And then finally, we got the total shift share analysis that we could point to the competitive component that we could see here into the part of the bottom of the slides, where we got to analyze, for instance, for what happened for the Spanish Med range in the first period, grow a lot the port of Algeciras, and then it lose part of the share of growth to give the pass to the other port, as the port of Barcelona and port of Valencia. And also here, it is important to point out what happened in Cagliari and Taranto, that lose an important part of their container handling, and this handling has been absorbed in any way by the port of Gioia Tauro and Malta. And so I arrived to the conclusion that the analysis got some important insight in terms of volume of container handled inside of the Mediterranean basin. There is some empirical evidence that reflect the fact that different port range and also different dynamics in terms of container and what happened to the container traffics is related on one hand on the strategic decision of the shipping alliances, shipping companies, and then also we could see how the idea is moving through few important ports that handle the most of container, and the rising of the use of mixed ports instead of using small transshipment hub. So the conclusion would be that ports able both to manage transshipment hub, transshipment traffic and gateway traffic will be gonna rise in the future on one hand. On the other hand, of course, that the small transshipment hub is going to disappear or to have always more and more less competitive position on the market inside of this ambient. So I think that's it for me about this presentation. I hope to stay into the 10 minutes, and thank you so much for your attention. And clearly, if you have any kind of question, I would be more than happy to answer to you. Professor Battisti, you have closed down the microphone.
Okay, sorry. Thank you very much, Andrea. Very interesting presentation. I have just one question, just one reflection. The study is very interesting. Were you able to get a sense of the reason that produce the variation on traffic dynamics that you identify? I mean, does it depend only by the shipping companies, as you said, or there are other reasons about this variation?
I mean, the first point about this variation is the dynamics related to the shipping companies. That probably the most important. That the strategic decision of the shipping companies, it's what is more clear and evidence to see. Then there is also that could be also other differences that, for instance, could be the presence of an important terminal operator, and that is what's happened in Cagliari. That in 2015, Consship Italia flew away from the terminal, and probably the point here is that once an operator leaves the markets in a place, almost the entire total share of the sport is going to almost zero, and so that could be very important to see.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions to Andrea for his presentation? Okay. Thank you very much. We can move on, and we have Francesca Sinatra and Chiara Marinelli with the presentation of the article Reshoring in Fashion, overview of current trends and motivation to production and relocalization in T&A sector.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm Francesca Sinatra, and like Andrea Gallo, I am a PhD student at the University of Trieste. I am doing a PhD in circular economy, and with my colleague Chiara Marinelli, we developed this analysis through the trends of T&A sector in the reshoring strategy. For this reason, I want to start telling you that the fashion industry, as we know, is an economic sector, and these industries assumes a paramount role in the global and economic system. This industry underwent notable transformation in its production strategies, propelling fashion production to dislocate in variegate worldwide locations. The paper embarks upon a comprehensive exploration of the escalating importance of reshoring efforts within the fashion industry, conducting a critical appraisal of the motivation factors, ramification, and also potential transformative influences on the industries. Furthermore, this investigation scrutinizes the association between reshoring initiatives and the overarching pursuit of sustainability objectives. Therefore, the main objective and aim of this work was to explore reshoring dynamics in the fashion sector and their interplay with sustainability efforts. As we know, the T&A sector stands as the world's second polluting industry, and this is an alarming trend that has been exacerbated by the proliferation of fast fashion, which not only leads to premature disposal of textile products, but also results in heightened waste generation. This issue, the importance of this issue lies in the unsustainable nature of the entire textile value chain, spanning from raw materials extraction to production, or also distribution, consumption, and end use. So taking into account all the value chain. Also, we can say that behind every environmental consideration, social and economical issues are at stake and need careful consideration. For this reason, we investigate these two trends, offshoring and reshoring. Sustainability, we know that sustainability is defined as the ability to meet present needs without compromising those of future generation. This concept, we know that is based on environmental, social, and economic pillars. In recent decades, both insourcing and outsourcing in developing countries have been popular strategies for companies seeking a sustainable competitive advantage. Moreover, economic trends like globalization have generated a complex supply chain, pushing many companies to relocate their production. So, delocalization is defined as the transfer of activities of production, search and development service, and or also supply in a foreign state outside of the country of origin of the company. However, in this sustainable context, the company are taking into account the responsible environmental issues like responsible supply chain management, and also the geographical distance can make it difficult to fully evaluate the environmental and social impact. In fact, reducing environmental impacts requires a close collaboration with suppliers and ethical treatment of workers, for example. So, in this context, the reshoring strategy is being used by the company, and it is used for different factors, including trade wars, rising labor costs in the localized country, concern on sustainability, and also supply chain disruption due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And there are different forms of reshoring, as we see in the matrix in this figure in the slide. We have in-house resourcing, reshoring for outsourcing, reshoring for insourcing, outsource reshoring. So the important things that the company needs to take into account before deciding about relocation of corporate activities, it is necessary that they have carefully assessed the trade-off between costs and benefits. While reshoring can lead to a lower profit and higher production costs, some studies have indicated that it can be a profitable strategy, especially considering the higher average return of shares associated with reshoring ads. So the methodology and data that we use for this work have been extrapolated by the European Reshoring Monitor, which is a database containing fact sheets with data on reshoring events reported by the national media of each member of the state of European Union. This data, the database was uploaded monthly until the 2028, and when the project ended. Within this project, different cases of reshoring have been reported as companies which have brought back value chain activities previously relocated to another country. And this takes into account different sector. We decide to put our attention only on the TNA sector. After a deeper investigation, we found 32 cases of reshoring announced, but only 29 cases of reshoring were considered, as some data on relocation of production activities did not clearly indicate the antecedent position to reshoring. Subsequently, the QGIS software was used to more accurately represent this in this analysis, as we can see in the figure. After setting up the map with the coordinates of enterprise in online maps, two distinct analytical levels were applied. One to indicate the original location of the activities, offshore 2, and one to represent the place of reshoring, reshore 2. After that, a network analysis was carried out on the repartition of production activities in a comprehensive manner. We can see our results. We can see our results both. We can see that both from the data and the network analysis conducted through QGIS, it was possible to check for the fashion companies their reshoring strategy. Our analysis what highlight that the TNA firms that have started to implement reshoring activities are still a minority worldwide. More in depth, reshoring strategies are mainly conducted by European firms, as they are those which previously delocalized most in Southeast Asia or China. In addition, it's possible also to see that Italy and the United Kingdom are the countries that were the highest number of cases attested. So our analysis demonstrates how companies keen on reshoring can benefit from a reinforced brand identity, mostly from the Italian market standpoint, where the made in is considered as the key qualitative component for product and services. Consequently, firms choosing these strategies can benefit for added value along the entire value chain. But our analysis does not allow us to exclude other factors such as normative challenges, political reasons, or tax incentives pushing companies to adopt reshoring strategies. Also, we want to remark that along with opportunities, reshoring also shows drawbacks and risks which are connected to its implementation, such as higher costs, heavier tax burden, and readaptation needed. So reshoring is strongly related to sustainability by considering social, environmental, and economic aspects as impactful on corporate performance in the short and long run. Trying to interpret these results, we can say that reshoring firms can benefit from our reinforced brand identity, as we can see, and this opportunity of reshoring have some risks. Concluding, we can say that reshoring phenomenon is still marginal with respect to the localization strategy, and this leads to unsustainable supply chain and highlights the need for other strategies to mitigate the fashion industry main negative consequences. Also emerges as a strategic instrument with the potential of harmonizing financial efficiency with social and environmental responsibility. And also we can highlight the limitation of our study because of secondary data, and because we had the limited industry and trying time frame focus. Also, we hope and encourage future research on reshoring and theory buildings approaches, because literature is today a minority. So thank you for your attention, and I'm here if you have some question about it.
Thank you very much, Francesca. I have just a reflection. We are discussing two sessions jointly, but we can note that we have a sort of common thread: evaluation as a prodromal knowledge tool for making thoughtful decisions, and in the present case for issues of sustainability, but also, and I will say especially, for economics issues in production. Thank you very much. I don't know if someone of you have any questions. We can go on with Andrea Gallo with another paper to discuss. The title is The Mediterranean Maritime Network of Container Shipping, Spatial Structure and the Regional Dynamics.
Thank you so much. Let me know if it's in my screen, part 2. I think, yeah. Can you see my screen? I got the mic.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. I already shown you something before, so I am having a little bit fun because the introduction would be almost the same, and also the data collection, a part of the data collection. So we start from the point that we already seen before. So I will be so fast in this part. We got always these different 29 ports. The period is always the same, 2010, 2022. We know that the Mediterranean basin is close between these two important choke points, the Gibraltar Strait and the Strait of Suez. We know that we got some problems in Suez, so the point is the same of before. And also in this case, we take into account nodes and networks. The networks, the structure of the networks, nodes and arcs. Sorry. As said before, the data is almost the same as before, so it's quite fun. And also the different classification among these different ports is the same. Also in this case, we could see the rise and the decreasing of different ports presented in just a few minutes ago with the port of Taranto, for instance, or the port of Cagliari, or the rising of the port of Piraeus during the season of Costco to make their main hub, transshipment hub. So it is quite important to see what happened in the port of Piraeus, and the base is almost the same of before. So now we arrive to the new part, if you want, of the study, where we are gonna take into consideration all the different main routes for the main shipping companies that they presented online. Here you could see the routing of MSC inside of the basin. It is also important to point out that we consider only the route around the world and pendulum route from the Far East or from the Atlantic side. And so on this point of view, it's clear that what is happening with the Houthi crisis is going to affect in so much this environment. Here we present the routing by MSC. Here we could see the routing of Maersk, the first shipping companies in terms of volume handled. Then we have the CMA CGM, a French company that got an important dimension inside of the Mediterranean basin, so because they are based in France, in Marseille. Then we got the Evergreen, about their container traffics. Then we have the Costco shipping lines that we said before. They put their bases on the port of Piraeus in Greece, of Athens. And so, starting from the analyzing of these different WAPs, what got we do? We developed the proximity matrix. A proximity matrix is a binary matrix, so a 0-1 matrix between all the elements of the system, where we must point out that this matrix was built on the analytical reconstruction of this different road, where the proximity between two nodes was determined on the basis of a second degree k nearest neighbor. What does it mean in few words? It does mean that between a node ni and a node nj, we'll have the value of 1 if in one route among two calls we could reach a port. Otherwise, on the other hand, if within any kind of route inside of the Mediterranean basin we aren't able to reach this node, the value will be 0. And now we pass to the second part of the methodology, where we start to introducing different index. The first one is the main centrality index, that is the Freeman degrees of centrality index, defined with the formulas that you could see in there. And here the point NE and NJ represent two different nodes of the network. And if the value will be 1, there will be an arc between these 2 points. And if the value of the W matrix, the value will be 0. And so based on this index, higher will be the index, higher will be the centrality inside of the network. And then we get a second index, that is the ungiven vector centrality data index. And the calculation is presented here with this formula. It is quite complicated because it's based on the ungiven vector idea. So I got a software that developed this calculation. And the idea here is that the centrality score of a node is proportional to the sum of the centrality, so something similar to the Freeman index, on one hand. And on the other hand, the node is based also on the direct connection of these nodes and his role and the role of the neighbor inside of the network. So the main idea here is that as much the network, as much a single port is important in relation also to the importance of the neighborhood, higher will be the level of the high given vector centrality. And as that also we take into consideration also the value of traffic. So we arrived to the discussions where we arrived to the discussion where we consider as first the network representations based on the number of TU handled inside of this basin, using the Pracherman regional layout. And this layout is going to putting at the central of the network the main important nodes, and more than we flow away from the center, the nodes is going to lose importance. And so we could easily see in the centrality of, for instance, the port of Gioia Tauro, Malta, and Genoa, and clearly the port of Pireo. And higher we go to the side of this network, the port is gonna lose part of centrality. And also in this way, I mean, it's pretty nice to see, for instance, how the port of Algeciras that move and handle a lot and a huge amount of container got a weak position inside of this graph. And that is happening clearly because the port of Algeciras manage a huge amount of traffic that arrives to the port of the northern range, so Antwerp, Amsterdam, and Rotterdam, and Hamburg. And then we pass to the second graph, and this is the network representation based on the Freeman index. And also in this case, it's interesting to observe how the port of Algeciras, Damietta, and Ambali in Turkey hold a rate of marginal position in the face of extremely significant traffic flows, and also higher level of the Freeman index centrality. And here the response also in this case is based on the network and the connection that they had and that they got. And for instance, the port of Ambali, that it is the most important port of Istanbul, got an important flows also with the Black Sea, but not only because it's something of strange that happened during this network analysis. And also to try to catch these dynamics could be a little bit complicated at the light of this consideration. And now finally we arrive to the representation of the given vector centrality, that also in this case show us the strong position of some transshipment hubs that got a clear strategical position and operation for the shipping company. And also we can observe, for instance, how the port of Genoa, that is an absolute term, a gateway port, rise in term of importance inside of this network. And at the same time, also, for instance, the port of Limassol and Ahifa are rising a lot inside of this network. And so also in this case, we could find something of very interesting. And now we arrive to the last network and representation, that is the network in the first figure at the top of the slide. You could see the geo-representation, so the geographical layout of the given vector centrality. So you could see the different ports spread among the Mediterranean basin on a geographical basis. So we got the software, Jeffy, to spread the port on the basis of the latitude and longitude. And then we move from the idea of the given vector centrality to the geospatial reference of the TU handle inside of the Mediterranean, taking into account also the different arcs that you could see here in the figure. And under this point of view, it's interesting to see that starting from a network analysis based only on arcs and nodes, we have almost the same dynamics related to the handling of traffic among these different ports. So there is this strong relationship between number of volume of TUs handled by the different ports and centrality of those ports inside of the node in terms of connection, of strong connection of the ships between these ports. I mean, it's pretty clear, but it's also interesting that there is this overlapping in some way of results among these two different analyses. And I think that the conclusion is the same that we presented before, of the rising of some ports and the lowering positions of other ports. Also in this case, the dynamics are closely related to what's happening with the strategical decision of a huge amount of operators, of a logistical operator. It is also clear that the study didn't take into account what is happening during the crisis, and in fact I have to implement it and to renew it, because with the closing of the Suez Canal, almost the great part of the container traffic that passed through the Mediterranean has been moved to the Cape of Good Hope, and so at the light of this, it's clear that the Spanish port and the port of Algeciras, Valencia, and Barcelona is rising up as value. And at the meantime, also probably the port of Malsacrox in Malta and also the port of Gioia is rising as important as position inside of the strategical location inside of the Mediterranean Sea Basin. But I mean, I got to renew, of course, this paper, try to publish it in the future, because what is happening here in this period inside of the geopolitical dynamics, it's pretty complex to understand. And so I think that's it. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope to stay inside of the 10 minutes of presentation. If you have
Yes.
question, I would be more than happy to reply to you. And thank you so much again for this session.
Thank you to you, Andrea. Very interesting. I continue on what we have said before. You said that the shipping companies decide the routes and where to unload the containers, but it's a sort of difficult geopolitical context in what decision can take. But beyond the port, there is infrastructure and logistics. I have a reflection. Would it perhaps be more correct to have institutional and governmental decision of transport dynamics, considering infrastructure and transport dynamics on land. What I would like to say, it is correct to consider, for example, roads, railways, interports, population dynamics in the decision of routes.
Clear, it would be correct, but sometimes it happens, sometimes not, because here the main important difference is between the service of the different ports. I mean, in a transshipment hub, it doesn't have any kind of matter, because it is like an hub with a small impact among the backport areas, and so under this point of view, you could put your transshipment hub, whatever you prefer, probably based on your decision, your optimizing your economical cost about the transport, and about the location of this transshipment hub in relation to the final destination of the freights. I mean, if you got to reach, for instance, the northern Germany, you will use if you got to reach the continental Europe and you want to use the Mediterranean Sea basin, probably you could use a transshipment hub clear in the center of the Mediterranean. It doesn't happen that you go far away from there to handle your container there. On the other hand, for what concerns the gateway and the mixed port, I think that the logistical part behind the ports, so the railway connection, the road connection, the presence of a huge amount of highway to manage the truck traffic and so on and so far, it's pretty important. And it is rising a lot as importance more and more every year and every day. So the main difference is between these two types of different ports.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrea.
Thank you to you.
We can go on. I have my presentation. A work made with Giovanna Campa, who is here. Assessment approaches for rent and sales price control in social housing. Do you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Giovanna, if you want, you can say what you think. You can stop me and say what you like.
Although, Fabrizio, just one thing, we cannot see it full screen.
Okay. I think now you see the full screen, okay?
Not yet. Probably if you share the screen before and you are using two screens, we cannot see it. So you should stop sharing and then share again, and you will see the full screen presentation. Yes. Okay, thank you. But we cannot hear you now. I still cannot hear you. I'm not sure if it's my problem. Can someone else confirm?
No, I cannot either.
Okay. Please try stopping the share, Fabrizio. And still, we cannot hear you. So you might have a problem with the audio settings. If you click on the three dots next to the close call button, you have settings in the Jitsi window. Let's wait for Fabrizio to rejoin the meeting.
Okay, Professor Battisti just wrote me that he's trying to enter again, but he has some issues.
Okay. So we can wait, I think, for a few minutes more. In the case he doesn't make it in a few minutes, we could move to the next paper and wait for him to come at the end and present his paper.
Okay.
Let's see if he gets back soon.
Okay, I hope to fix the problem. Do you hear me now?
Perfectly.
Okay.
Thank you, Fabrizio.
Sorry for this inconvenience.
Now let's see if the screen sharing works.
Yes. Okay. Okay, I hope you can hear me and see my screen.
Yeah, not full screen, but we can see it.
Yes.
And
Okay,
perfect.
now full screen. Okay.
And we can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you, sorry. Okay, this presentation illustrates some results of research commissioned by the National Association of Builders, ANCE in Italy, Lazio section, to the Department of Architecture of the University of Florence. And the aim is to determine capped rent on a specific case of targeted model according to European Commission definition, to social housing. Private or targeted social housing has been innovated in Lazio region with Article 3 ter of Regional Law number 21 of 2009, the law on urban regeneration. And in the face of possibilities for density bonus and change of urban use from general regulatory plan, in urban regeneration programs, the article of regional law provides destining a quota of housing to be used for rental, and then after 7 years at capped rents and prices. And programs scheduled according to Article 3 of ter of Regional Law number 21 2009 has been copiously implemented, but social housing initiatives that are part of these programs have not in fact been started because the regulatory provisions set forth in Regional Regulation number 18 of 2012 relating to the determination of the capped rents has in fact inhibited the real estate operators in the sector from initiating such initiatives because the capped rents are very low. For example, 5 euros for square meters for the city of Rome, 4 euros for square meters for municipalities with population equal or greater than 10,000 of inhabitants, and just 3 euros for square meters for municipalities with population lower than 10,000 of inhabitants. And which is our research methodology, a reinterpretation of the break-even analysis for the determination of a rent that make it feasible, a rent that make it feasible the intervention. So the implementation of social housing, Article 3 of Regional Law number 21. And please note that the objective of this research is to identify a rent that will make the investment feasible, even without profits, because the profits are in the private part, not in the public part, in the social part. But the intervention is one, with public and private part. The public part cannot have profits, but the private, yes. And the review of the forecast set forth in the regulation number 18 of 2012 is a political work that is under the responsibility of the Lazio region establishment. But we can have a role as a sort of advisor in this kind of political work. And the research methodology, as I said, is break-even analysis. You can say in this slide our reinterpretation. We have all the costs that we have to consider in development real estate initiatives, even if social housing initiatives. We have the list of costs. And I move on to experimentation and results. Break-even analysis has been applied with the aim of determining the rents that allow, as I said, the implementation of private social housing, target social housing initiatives. So initiatives that are implementable by private operators without the support of public funds. And this experimentation has been extended to the entire territory of Lazio region. And in this regard, a database has been constructed containing about 100,000 of data taken from institutional sources and or those of recognized scientific caliber, such as the Real Estate Market Observatory of the Revenue Agency, the Ministry of Interior, and ISTAT. And this database, the construction of this database was carried out by taking in consideration the micro zones of the Observatory or Market of the Revenue Agency, we can call OMI, as basic core. And for each microzone, with respect to the data made available by the Revenue Agency, additional data were integrated, which allowed to prepare sets of attributes for the implementation of traditional and large estimation procedure as basis for being applied to the break-even analysis. And we have the results. The results we obtained from the experimentation are sustainable rents for operators, but pay attention. They could not be for the citizens to whom social housing is intended, that is, those who do not have the requirements to access to public housing, but also have difficulty in accessing to the free market. But you have to put in your memory that this research has been commissioned by ANCE, so we explore just one issue of this problem, the issue related to the private operators. So the social issue are other issues to be considered, but it's not our aim. With the result, we can discuss the result. The new capped rents we determine are 9.9, so 10 euros per month for Rome, the city of Rome, municipalities with population equal or greater than 10,000 of inhabitants, 9.10, and other municipalities with population lower than 10,000 of inhabitants, 9.40 euros per month. So we have 2 times or 3 times value compared to the values of the regional regulatory number 18 of 2012. So you can understand why a private real estate initiative in social housing cannot be started with that capped rents. And we have confidential research effect on Lazio region. After the research results, a phase to determine capped rent has started. And within the Lazio region, based on the outcomes of this research work, a debate was open aimed to identify the new capped rents, but also considering the social repercussions to modify the regional regulation number 18 of 2012. And an amendment to this regulation was presented by the majority that now is governing the Lazio region with the following capped rents: 8 euros of square meters for city of Rome and 6.5 euros for other municipalities. So we have capped rent that consider the private investor, because without the private investor, no social housing, you cannot have social housing initiatives, but also considering the social repercussions. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question, I'm at your disposal.
Yeah, just one question. When you mentioned, I think there's just, yeah, if you could just move it because I hear an echoing microphone. Okay. When you show the results, I noticed that, for example, the capped rent, the minimum capped rent that resulted from the analysis was actually greater for municipalities below 10,000 inhabitants than for municipalities with more than 10,000 inhabitants. So even contradicting, I mean, the relationship between the capped rent that came from the regulation. I mean, which factors were taken into account when determining them? I mean, specifically that caused this change of trend.
Yes, it's curious, but it depends by the cost and by the logistics. For example, in a little city, in a little town, you have more costs of construction than in a greater town, in a greater city, because it's more difficult to have materials, to find the workers. So the costs are greater, and then because our results depend by the cost, you can note that in little town and cities, the capped rent are greater than in larger cities.
Okay, I see.
Okay. If there are not other questions, we can go on with the last presentation. Just 1 second, because I lost the program. The last presentation is Mariolina Grasso, Giovanna Campa, and Alessio Pino. A multi-criteria analysis proposal with analytic network process and veto thresholds to support decision-making in former railway track regeneration initiatives. Alessio and Mariolina, you can start. Thank you very much to be here.
I will now present it. Okay, just I think maybe you can no longer see my my video, I guess, due to a mistake. Okay, never mind. Okay. Okay, can you see the presentation correctly?
Yes, yes.
Yes, Alessio.
Okay, perfect. So, first of all, nice to meet you. I'm Alessio Pina, and I'm a PhD student at University of Naples.
Alessio, sorry, share the full screen if you can.
Okay, so that was my... Okay, is it okay now?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks to you. Okay, so as I was saying, right now I will present a methodology which we have not applied yet for the determination of the optimal regeneration hypothesis for former railway track. So it is for abandoned railway lines, which are a quite present reality in Italy. And this is the work that I have developed with Professor Giovanna Campa and fellow colleague Merlina Grosso. Okay, so first I want to make a focus on the entity of this phenomenon. Currently, around 1,500 kilometers of railway tracks are no longer used in Italy. There are several reasons for this. On the one hand, there is the technological innovation, which has led to structural changes in the network of railway lines and of railway transport across Italy. Other reasons are related to changes in the distribution of the branches of the network, which have led to preferability over other tracks. But there are also some logistic reasons, which have led to a higher and more frequent use of other modes of transport for specific branches, which have led to the progressive non-usefulness of some tracks, which have been replaced over time and so have become in the end abandoned. So why did we choose to act with a multi-criteria method to select the best regeneration strategy for this context? For several reasons. And the main one is that there is quite a heterogeneity among the possibilities that are present for the regeneration of these railway lines. On the one hand, there are traffic facilities. So basically, the possibility to keep the linear nature of the spaces. So use them as lines of transport and lines of flows, which will connect few nodes and will allow movements over a line for different purposes. That is, as we will see later, more as greenways than as railway lines, but still in a linear pattern. On the other hand, there are what we might call point infrastructure. That is, places of tourism, so where punctual infrastructure and punctual hubs are placed, so both for visitors and people who use it for a specific purpose, or as a public space for citizens, so that is, spaces that are used for social and relational purpose. So given these aspects, what I want to highlight first is that the peculiar features of the MCA method that we have developed is based on two aspects. First, the choice of a non-hierarchical method, which allows using different criteria according to the situation, according to the object that is being assessed. And the other aspect is the choice of veto threshold, which on the one hand simplify the evaluation as they allow breaking down and limiting at a specific point over the methodological process the selection among alternatives that are actually feasible. And on the other hand, allows a better schematization of the choice. So, as I was saying, one specific example that I want to make is probably one that led us to considering a more heterogeneous outline of the available possibilities for generation. That is the case of circumetnea. When we think of which is a railway network which exists in the surrounding Catania, a major city in the south of Italy, in the island of Sicily. And why do I focus on that? Because when we think of unused railway lines, I think that we are more prone to identify them as branches that exist in almost non-densely populated areas, for example, in central Italy, where it is more evident to think of the transport nature of the spaces rather than to think about their proximity to the urban spaces and thus to the benefit and social integration that they can develop with these proximal urban spaces. So, as I was saying, we can define a major subdivision of these possible uses as roads, so lines, as greenways or linear parks, as it was often hypothesized and also spontaneously implemented both in central Italy and in some cases also northern Italy, and in a much broader extent also beyond Italian borders, and what we could define as hubs. For example, playgrounds, that is specific places and specific points over the course of railway lines, which allow setting a specific place and a specific space where this infrastructure can come more at hand for users, be them tourists or consistent ones, that is residents. Okay, so this is the structure of the methodology that we have developed. First, there is the definition of the set of criteria, and then there is the application of an AMP structure, so a non-hierarchical process for the choice of the optimal reuse alternative. Okay, concerning the criteria set definition, first we have chosen a subdivision into 4 categories. That is socio-technical compatibility, environmental sustainability, economic sustainability, and social benefit. As you can see, there are also in this case heterogeneous criteria. Initially, I had specified that we have chosen a non-hierarchical structure because we needed to change the criteria based on what we were evaluating. This is more clear if we look, for example, to the socio-technical compatibility. In case of linear infrastructure, so what we have called roads, some aspects are particularly relevant. For example, the longitudinal and transversal slope, or the minimum curve radius, which is central when we are evaluating something that is going to be used as a line. On the other hand, we have criteria that are more relevant when we are thinking of a place where people are meant to stay and not just pass. For example, neighborhood safety comes at a much higher relevance when we are thinking of a hub, while it's not relevant when we are thinking of a road, and so is excluded in the latter case and considered only in the former case. This is, at a glance, the structure of the ANP method that we have developed. So as you can see, Veto thresholds are only applied for the criteria that are related to the macro category of socio-technical compatibility, as of course this marks the first thresholds, the first differentiation that is to be marked when we are considering which alternatives can be actually considered beyond the benefits that can be achieved in various ways, and which are absorbed and captured by the other groups of criteria. In this case, in fact, the veto thresholds are crucial, as they provide a first exclusion of the non-feasible areas, and this is mostly related to both social aspects, so neighborhood safety and proximity to industrial facilities, which of course is very frequent, as many railway tracks, where I'm thinking of Circumetén, which I described before, but also in other cases, many railway tracks were introduced to allow the connection with industrial centers, and so their main purpose was to ensure the connection for workers. On the other hand, technical compatibility is related to the factor that I was describing before, some of which are exclusive for roads, but other, such as area geometry. So especially in terms of the minimum area and the minimum surface extension that has to be provided to start an intervention, is relevant for hubs. The other aspects are, I will just describe them briefly, related to both the effect on the environment. So how heavy is the effect that will be produced on the area where these interventions will be performed, and this is mainly related to the previous state of the area, and so to the extent of the transformation that has to be produced, but also on the entity of the work that have been performed before, and so how the dismission will cause higher impacts. And of course, the social benefit is related to the entity of population and involved population in the area where the intervention has been performed. One final note that I want to make is that this structure already bears a strong similitude with the structure of the cost-benefit analysis, and we have drawn some inspiration from it. In which sense? In the sense that when we are performing a cost-benefit analysis, we are dividing between a financial feasibility and an economic feasibility, where the first provides an initial threshold for the second. That is, when we are assessing a financial feasibility of an intervention, that serves as a preliminary threshold to see whether we can consider or not, or we have to consider with some compensation, the second aspect, which is broader. In this sense as well, when we are considering technical feasibility in our ANP structure proposal, we are undoubtedly considering a major pre-requirement for performing an intervention. But on the other hand, we are also assessing how significant must the socioeconomic benefits must be to allow the actual the convenience of the intervention. So in general, of course, I want to point out that we have not, in this case, dwelled so much on the general social meaning of this mission of railway infrastructure, which of course plays a major role in the evolution of the context. And of course, the point is not to go backward to it. On the other hand, we wanted to provide a convenient and consistent tool to first consider all the elements that are involved in this kind of decision, and on the other hand, to provide a thorough consideration and cost encompassment of all the various and heterogeneous possibilities that are involved, and how they interact in a different way with all the existing criteria. So of course, this will be even more combined with cost-benefit analysis in order to homogenize the language through which this analysis is performed. And on the other hand, we will perform an initial more practical application of this methodology by experimenting with the area that we have mentioned several times, that is Circumetnea in Catania in Sicily, which is already underway and which is particularly relevant as it blends together the aspects of proximity to urban communities, and so the development of infrastructure and services which can restore the usefulness of this infrastructure for the urban community. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you to you, Alessio. With your presentation, we have finished our 2 sessions, Transnet and Uritem. And to conclude this session, I can say that we presented papers from 2 merged sessions, but I can say that fil rouge, common thread, was their assessment processes used to support decisions related to transportation dynamics, production routes, and the regulation infrastructure use. So we can conclude this session considering that analysis and evaluation procedures are very useful tools for decision support in the transformation of every kind of situation, infrastructure, land, soil, real estate, and on. Thank you for your attention. We are on time for the conclusion of the ICCSA conference. I hope to see you in other conferences. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fabrizio, for chairing the session. Just a quick reminder for the completion of the papers evaluation form. When you can.
I have completed.
Marvelous. Thank you. Thank you again. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.